right, this is the American League AL Central rundown, and with me today is Dan, Lee, and Sam. And ladies and gentlemen, we, for the first time since like the second week of April, have a real division race because the Guardians will not die. Relatively, lead dying inside more and more each day. Let's talk about the standing, shall we?
Do we have to? Can we just skip that part?
Oh, no, we can't.
I think we should. I think we should.
This is the best part. So the Tigers, who have been in the division lead the entire effing season, minus a 3-game sweep against the Dodgers, literally at the start of April, they have a 1-game lead against those scrappy Cleveland Guardians. The Kansas City Royals are still a game above 500, but it's not looking great for the wild card. They're 6 games back, and there's only like 7 games left. The Twins have been a flaming dumpster, and the White Sox have played better. They've been better than the Twins since the trade deadline. I don't think that's necessarily shocking. Let's just talk about the playoff chances, because the Guardians have pulled a Guardians yet again. They have increased their playoff odds 56 percentage points in the last 30 days, 60 in the last 7. They have come back from the dead again. The Tigers still going to make the playoffs. I know Lee.
No, they're not. They're going to lose out. I'm not convinced they're going to win a single game this season.
Let's just talk about the wild card for just a second. You might notice, if you're watching this on YouTube, both Dan and Lee wearing Mariners caps. Just because. Didn't plan that. It just kind of happened. But the Cleveland Guardians are now in the wild card spot. The Mariners are obviously winning the West, and then the Tigers still winning the Central. Whoo! What a turn of events, says someone whose team has died 2 months ago. We'll start with Dan, because Lee, I think, is about to punch through the screen.
If I can strangle people through the monitor, you would be dead.
There's a non-0% chance that an arm might come through the screen and grab me by the neck in the course of this episode. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. I also want to mention the Seattle hat isn't just random people. The Mariners are playing the Astros today. The Guardians and Astros are tied for the final wild card spot at this point in time, though the Guardians hold the tiebreaker, but it sure would be nice to gain a little bit of ground here. So I collect hats. I've got nearly every team, a fitted hat for each team. So it's Seattle today. That's the answer on that.
I would with Seattle because I'm rooting for them to win the World Series. I don't care anymore.
Wow.
Or the Blue Jays, but I don't have a Blue Jays hat. So, Mariners, it is.
Well, I don't know.
Hey, Eric, I have a question for you, Eric.
Yes.
How happy are you that your team is not involved in this situation? Because I'm delighted that I am just a casual observer on the sidelines of this.
Would I prefer my team to be in the middle of this? Yes, but I was like a fan of baseball. This is great. This is what you want, because
I can never make fun of the Twins again.
Yeah, well, this is what I want all last year.
Technically, Eric, your team is in the middle of this because they are currently beating the Guardians. We're getting started about 4:15 on Sunday.
They couldn't manage a single run yesterday in 18 innings. Thanks for nothing.
I have to say,
question though. It's nice. It is, just as a fan of baseball, just to watch a team for the Tigers who have been on a 95 to 100 win pace pretty much the entire year, and the Guardians who have been on a 500 win pace all year. And now it doesn't matter. They're both 1 game apart. And that's just fun.
No, don't lie. You've been rooting for the Tigers' downfall since April. Come
on. But why? Why would I root for that?
You've wanted them to lose since May. You've been
saying, I wanted them to lose, so
I can't wait for
when
the Tigers. When are the Tigers going to start losing? Well, here it is. You're happy with it. You're going to be stuck with the Guardians back-to-back division champs, and you're going to like it.
I mean, yes, I would like some.
I am going to like it. Yes,
I was about to say Dan is. But Sam, how are you feeling as an independent visitor to this?
I feel delighted by all of this. I like to root for chaos, and this is that. Um, and this is gonna maybe be a comment that like all three of you are gonna want to reach through the screen and strangle me for saying. Um, I need a playoff season off. I need between the Chiefs and the
Oh, go!
I need
Go, get out of here.
I need a nice, just chill playoff season.
All right, enough of that.
This is what happens when Lee gets control. Welcome back, Sam.
But yeah, it is fun to be, having your team in it, um, year after year, but it's also very stressful, to have to hold on to every single pitch and have to sweat about every single play in the game. And so I'm looking forward to a nice, stress-free MLB playoffs this year.
Monkey
That is
paw
like
curls. The Royals will never make the playoffs for another decade.
the sweat is the fun though. I do kind of agree with you. I like Lee is on the opposite end of the sweat right now, and Dan is on the obviously like the high side of it. But like, yes, this is why you watch the sport, and this is why you watch MLB playoffs.
Yeah,
It's chaos, and it's
Guys.
almost like we're getting a week preview, like a week earlier for the playoffs, because we have a pretty
And
big series coming up this week.
from
And
my perspective, it really intensified this week with the Detroit series. But I've had that kind of uneasy feeling even before, like during the middle of the day, like just when I think about what I'm going to watch tonight. I've had that for probably not just this week, for a little bit before that, just because of where the Guardians are coming from, the way they've played. Oh no, there might be something going on here. And so I don't know. I vehemently disagree with Sam. I like that. I'm looking forward to this. I was saying before we went on air, this could end. They could make the playoffs, get swept out in 2 games in the first round. Don't care. This has been fun. I've enjoyed this. Lee, I know it hasn't been fun for you. I'm sorry, but it has been a fun ride. And I want to see him win a World Series. My dad's 71, never seen him win a World Series. I want to see them win, but in the this is fun right now, and that's what I'm enjoying. So
to
yeah,
be
I, I,
honest,
I like that feeling. Additionally, that narrative went around here, Sam, when LeBron left the second time. Oh well, we won't have to have that white knuckle 2 months of playoffs. No, I would have given that back. I'd rather have the playoffs, but
no,
so I get it.
of course, I would rather have the Royals make the playoffs, but ultimately, I'm just hoping that the Astros get bounced, from the playoffs in
That
favor
would
of
be
the
fun.
Guardians.
I think we
So
can all agree on that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
now that I'm able to hate Carlos Correa again, I can root against the Astros completely. Not that.
Oh yeah, it
Oh
was
my
great how like
goodness.
3 days after being traded back to the Astros, I was like, all right, yep, he's back to being insufferable. So now I can feel good about hating him again.
Royce
Well,
Lewis,
guys,
a
yeah, it's
grand.
6-2 Minnesota.
Yep. So I
So
think Lee, here you go. The division lead is still there. So Royce Lewis just did, I think, a 3-run home run in the bottom of the seventh with 2 outs with the Shadows, by the way. Which, if you listen to any broadcaster, the Shadows are the worst part of hitting in baseball.
Shadows are nonsense.
All right, the division lead will
Right.
stay at 1 because the Tigers are going to lose. So Tigers
I
are
mean,
currently down 3-0 in the bottom of the 8th. They have left 10 on base in 6 innings.
let's
Dude,
not
it's
forget,
freaking
like, who's in the
insane.
Twins bullpen? And if you can name anyone in the Twins bullpen right now, like, there's still a chance for Cleveland. Like, let's not forget that.
That's true. Shit. Never
But
mind.
it's looking good. There's 6 outs away from hopefully the
That's
Twins
what I said
winning
yesterday.
1 out of 3. But we're going to talk about in the recap in a bit. So, Lee, other than your misery, I know we've kind of touched on it. We talked to Dan about how he's feeling. I know you are having an adult beverage at
I
4:15 in
am.
the afternoon. Welcome to the club. How are you feeling?
I'm miserable. I'm at this point. I'm kind of just. I keep oscillating between being angry and being depressed because the thing is, I don't know who I should be pissed at. Right? Should I be angry at Scott Harris again for the trade deadline? But like, what trade would have fixed this team, because this team, they can't do anything right now. They can't hit, they can't pitch, they can't. I mean, everything is going wrong. How are they just getting unlucky? Are they? I don't know. So like, okay, so but like, should I be angry at the team then because they aren't? It's not like they aren't trying. The problem is that they are trying, and then they're just swinging at everything. Or no, a game I went to on Wednesday, they were swinging at everything outside of the plate. But then the first game against the Braves 2 days ago, I'm looking on game day because I don't have the stomach to watch these games because they're miserable. I look, and Parker Meadows strikes out looking, and he just looked at 3 balls down the middle. Or like earlier today, Torque struck out. He watches 2 sliders go by, and then another slider, and he whiffs on that. And it's like, what are you doing? I don't know what this team is doing. And the problem isn't even the pitching. Like, is it the bullpen? Maybe. Like Will Vest yesterday gave up the lead in on 2 strikes and 2 outs. But today, Casey Mize went, I think it was like 6 innings, 3 runs. That's fine. It's not going to do you anything when the offense isn't scoring any runs. And like Flaherty on the game we lost on Wednesday against Cleveland, he went, I think it was like 2 runs in 7 innings or something. And then Urquidy came in and gave up 2 more runs. But we lost 4-0. We can't do anything. We're not going to win anything when the offense can't score. So I don't know who I should be angry at, but I'm angry. And I'm also just depressed because this team is going to, look, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we were 11 games up in the division. Right? 3 days, now we're 1 game up. If you had told me beginning of the season that we would be 1 game up in the division with 6 to go, I'd be like, great. That's what position we wanted to be in. But it's the fact that they're just completely falling apart.
Right.
It's just so sad to watch is a problem.
As a team who also had an all systems failure over the last 200 games, I can hear that, because it doesn't matter what button AJ Hinch hits. They're all doomed
They're
to
all
combust.
going to, yeah, like, what can he do if every batter is just going to fall over and die on the plate? Like, there's nothing he can do if every button has a 50% chance of self-destructing.
And that's what it sucks as a fan, and I'm sure it's I don't want to say it's like worse in the clubhouse, but like no one on the Tigers wants that. Like everyone in that clubhouse is probably trying exceptionally hard to do it, because they haven't, outside of last year's playoffs, who has the experience on that team? Baez,
Glaber,
Flaherty, and you have a young up-and-coming team. And if you go with the 90s NBA narrative, you need to have those winners on your team that know how to win. And like that, I can see how that would collapse, or like that could put a lot of pressure on you. And then it doesn't help that the Guardians, the effing Cleveland Guardians.
We wouldn't even be talking about this if the Guardians hadn't won 10 in a row.
And that's just it. The Guardians do this.
If they had just won 5 out of 5, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because it wouldn't matter, because the Tigers would still be 7 games up if they just gone 500 the last 10 games instead of 10-game win streak.
Yeah, instead of like 13 of their last 14. And they have like, the Twins have quit. We're going to talk about the Twins Guardians series. The Twins have quit this season. The Guardians, I think my notes in like, we have a little Word document that we kind of update our notes on. My note was, this is what happens when a team that has everything to play on meets a team that has nothing to play on. And the Twins, they might win this game. They're up 6-2. They looked horrible the first 3 games.
They didn't have to look. Tigers are, sorry to interrupt you. Tigers are playing the Braves right now. They're about to get swept. The Braves have nothing to play for, but they're still going out, and they were battling into the last strike. They're, the Braves are down 4-5, 2 outs, 2 runners on, last strike, and they get a hit and they tie the game. Like they have nothing to play for, but at least they're trying to win still. Sorry, I'm just pissed.
Two different versions of not very good teams, and let me know if you agree with this, Eric. But the Braves, underachieving team that probably should have been better than they were this year.
100%.
Injuries, their record isn't necessarily entirely indicative of their capability. And then the Twins, who I think I'd say the same about if it weren't for the fact that like they traded 11 players.
They traded
deadline.
40% of their active roster.
So
No, I think that's
I said it weeks ago on this show. The Guardians had the easiest schedule down the stretch, and I heard, oh well, the other teams have easy schedules too. Well, now you have to execute, and the Guardians have certainly done that part of it too.
and that's what's like, and I understand Lead will disagree. That's what's fun about this is the Guardians have executed at the absolute best time, and the Tigers, who, let's be honest, could have just like 9 out of 10 seasons could have just coasted to the postseason, now have some pressure. And there is a non-zero chance that they don't make the playoffs.
Oh, they're not making the playoffs. They're gonna
because
lose
the
that
Guardians
this year.
got hot at the right time. And like it's just if you want to count in Minnesota's collapse last year, and then you want to count in if you want to count Detroit as a collapse this year, like Cleveland, what they're doing is remarkable over the last decade. Like it's just how do you not give credit to a team that will not die, that continually gets to the playoffs for the last 10 years? And regardless of who the best team in the division is most of the season, it's still the Guardians' division to lose, it seems like. It's remarkable.
You say that, Eric, but another thing that the Guardians do every year is disappoint their fans.
Sure.
And it is entirely on the board and would be very Cleveland-esque for the Guardians to do all this and then lose the series to the Tigers and then make, it's not off the board that they do that as well.
Oh,
this is fair.
Not in the slightest. There's still a week of games to play. They have to play Texas after Detroit. That's not going to be a pushover.
Texas is going to have nothing to play for. Texas is going to have
Atlanta.
They're not going to give a shit.
Texas is still in it.
They are? I thought they were
theoretically
5 games back.
Yeah, they're still in it.
I'd probably call them striking distance, to be fair.
Texas is 5 games out. They play Miami today. They're going to win against Minnesota, and then they play Cleveland.
Yeah, but you don't think that the players on the Rangers would like to have a winning season?
That's fair.
I mean,
I would also argue
or exact revenge on the team that's trying to surpass them in the wild card.
Or play spoiler.
I was like, play spoiler. I think is just because like I understand the Twins had the opportunity I will if the Twins would have actually showed up for the series we're about to talk about, and we may as well just start talking about the series because we've like teased it like 4 times. If the Twins would have showed up to play spoiler, I would be like tickled pink because like, oh, look at the team that was dead in the water that actually like gave the finger to the Guardians for the first time. I would love to tell you that, but they can still get swept. They're up 4 runs in the 8th inning. But
before we move off, I want to speak to your thing about the Guardians always being in the mix. There's 2 particular stats that I found myself this week and one that I saw. Terry Pluto is a really great writer locally here. He's been around for a long time. He wrote a book about the ABA at one point that's fantastic. It's called Loose Balls, just to plug that real quick. But beyond that, that's not the point.
He could have come up with a better title for that book.
I think that's what it's called.
It's a clickbait title. It's sold.
Since 2013, the Guardians have had 2 losing seasons. That's since Francona started as the manager, by the way. That's the benchmark. Even more remarkably, they've played just 25 total games in those 13 years where they were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. It's 2 per year, if you want to think about it that way.
Yep.
The second one is since 2016, because that's only as long as Fangraphs will let me go back, because Fangraphs now has a paywall on doing big spans of time. That's a whole other thing too. But since 2016, the top 5 teams in wins in Major League Baseball, the Guardians are 4th, with all the big boys you would think of: Houston, New York, etc. Little old Cleveland, with their often sub $100 payroll or $100 million payroll, 4th over that period of time. So, yeah, I think, that goes to organization and culture and all those things. That it's not one thing that hasn't come up here, and it's a boogeyman that's in the back of my head because I read the internet too much sometimes, is people saying the Guardians get lucky. I think that's nonsense. This is purposeful, and it's happened long enough now that Trends aren't luck. So,
And before we got on, what I talked, and this is certainly up for debate. The things the Guardians and the Rays do well are things that you cannot really accurately measure. Obviously, you can measure pitching, you can measure spin rate, you can measure velocity, you can measure whatever. They do defense and they do base running very well. And that's a little bit more gray area. And for someone who is full into the sabermetric, like let's look at the data and all that stuff, the Guardians put the ball in play method that doesn't look good. They had I will outside of Jose Ramirez and pick X player, one X player a year. They do not have a good offense, but they're always pitching well and they always put enough balls in play to be competitive. And like that's what makes them infuriating. Is they should be a team that should be below 500 or 500 every year and they always beat expectations. And like
the only thing I would lament on that, or I'd push back on, is last year the offense was better. I've talked about that. They were hitting the ball over the fence a little bit more. That was a good team last year, genuinely. I thought they were a legitimate World Series contender because the offense went from 28th, 29th, 30th to
sure.
12th, 11th, 14th, that kind of thing. So, you trade Naylor, Lane Thomas doesn't show up this year because of injury. David Fry's like that to me. They've hit the ball better over the course of these last 2 weeks, and they've gotten it from everywhere. Now is that luck? Maybe. I'll be honest, maybe. Um, but that's the difference. If this can be an average offense, this is a really good team.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the Guardians, getting lucky. The thing is, a lot of times you create your own luck.
Right.
And what you talk about in, with Eric, to your point of putting the ball in play and putting pressure on the team and good base running, the Royals won a World Series doing that. The Royals won 95 games and made it to the World Series and beat them big bad Mets in 5 games because of the Mets not making plays they should have, blown saves, errors, all those types of things. So, yeah, sure, we can say, oh, it's luck. Oh, it's, it's this, it's that. It's a legitimate strategy for winning games is putting pressure on the other team.
I think that's a perfect archetype for what the Guardians are trying to emulate here because it's hit the ball play, score enough runs. And then the other part that the Royals had that I think the Guardians are trying to emulate is the lockdown bullpen. Like get the game to the 7th and it's over. And it hasn't gone quite as well this year, but that was the recipe last year.
It's gotten pretty fucking good considering that their
Past 2 weeks.
all-star reliever closer may never pitch again. So
no, it's funny. It's amazing. You take 2 guys off the team who are purposely not trying to throw strikes, and suddenly the team's good. I don't know. Go figure.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I can't wait to see the 30 for 30 on this Guardians team with the whole with Clase and with who's the other guy?
Luis Ortiz.
Luis Ortiz and Clase. That'll be an interesting ESPN documentary in 15 years.
I just want to hear 20 years from now what teammates who are retired and don't give a shit anymore, how they have to say about Clase and Ortiz that they can't say now. That's the stuff that I'm always interested in. Like, all right, what are they not saying now that in 15 years we'll find out?
I want to know what Clase and Ortiz have to say 15 years from now when they can say whatever they want.
Right.
But about your point,
they'll be playing the Dominican Winter League this winter, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Are they really? Is that a thing?
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right, why not? I guess baseball, like MLB doesn't have any jurisdiction over that. Why not get your innings in? And
they'll be playing in Japan.
That's also a good point too.
Yeah. They'll
And
be playing.
I'm
With,
not sure.
they'll be
I
playing
think
with
that'll
Trevor Bauer for the Tijuana Tigers.
I think that'll depend on the outcome of the investigation. I think if they get found out, I don't think anybody's going to want to touch them with the 10-foot pole.
I think that's true. I think the fact that they have not, that a judgment has not come down yet is part
Agreed.
of why they're going to be playing ball.
Yeah, because it's not official yet. Yeah,
Yeah,
about your point on putting the ball in play, that's something the Tigers, they don't put the ball in play as much, but their base running is kind of a similar. So there's a really interesting article from the Athletic where the Tigers are the best base running team in terms of like taking the extra base in like 50 years. Like, so it's not an exaggeration, you know. So because you put the ball in play, or you have to, it's not necessarily putting the ball in play. It's making the defense make the perfect play, right? If they're going, if someone on first is trying to run to third, you have to make the defense make that throw to third. And in the meantime, the runner who was probably going to stop at first can now advance to second because the ball is going to third. That type of thing is something the Tigers are very good at. They're not using it because they can't hit. But
the return of small ball.
See, and that's where, like, and I think I've mentioned this before. Whatever archetype offense you are, you need to perform that during the playoffs and during when it matters. If what you do well the entire year and you crap the bed at the worst possible, it doesn't matter how well you did it before. Like, you need to perform well when it matters. Regardless, if you want to if you want to set like the Twins did in 2019, if you want to hit the major league record for home runs and then want to not show up for the 2019 Astros and get swept, it doesn't matter what you do if you don't show up during the playoffs. And that's kind of what we're seeing. The Guardians are playing the best of their version of baseball, and the Tigers are playing the worst of their version of baseball. And
yeah, they're now down 5-0, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, there's nothing you can do when you're not going to play your best. Like, they're just in a cold slump right now. And maybe I apologize if I said this earlier, but the Tigers to me have been not even to me. They've been a 95 to 100 win pace team a fair amount of this year. And the Guardians have been a 500 pace team for the end of the year, except for we're at the point of the season. That doesn't matter. Sample sizes don't matter anymore. Now you just do it. And they have a series 3 days from, or like 2 days from now. And that's where the season's going to come out to, where it doesn't matter who's been better 80% of the season.
They were.
I'll say that a different.
Go ahead.
I'll say that a different way, Eric. One sample size does matter. 162 games.
Sure.
Whether you won them in April or you won them in September, who has more? And yeah, the Guardians were looking like they weren't going to have more for about 5 months. And that is unclear at this point now. And it just interested me because as you were talking, I was thinking about, like, what if this stretch happened in June and we just happened to be in this place right now? Anyway, how would we feel differently about this? You know,
it's primacy recency bias.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure Lee would feel a heck of a lot different about this right now. You'd feel like, oh, we're 1 game up. We're going to go to Cleveland this week. We're going to hopefully take care of business. Like,
exactly.
But it's happening now, and that does matter, by the way. But
it's the fact that it's happening right now. Like, it's the worst possible time. Like, if this had happened in June, it'd be like, whatever, they were really good, and then they kind of fell down for a bit, but since then it's been fine, and then 1 game up is still in a good spot. 2 weeks ago, they were 11 games up. It's ridiculous.
And the other thing is,
I just think the Tigers were never that good. I think they were just average and lucky.
Speaking of Detroit sports teams, it's interesting because what was it 2022 where the Lions started like 1-8 and
they were 1-8
and finished the year 8-0.
Yeah, it was technically they were 1-7 and then they finished 8-2. But I forget. Yeah.
It was something like that. Like, and that. people, the next season talked about, what a great team the Lions are. They finished the year so hot. Oh wow, they're gonna make the playoffs this year. Well, let's reverse that. If they started the year 8-0 and then went 1-8 the rest of the year, we wouldn't be saying that about the Lions. So it's the idea of, And another NFL analogy: teams, if you look at the stats, teams in the NFL go for it on fourth down a lot more frequently in December than they do in September because teams are more desperate. You should be trying to win the games in September as much as you are trying to win the games in December and January, you know? So
Hey,
it happens in every sport.
Dude,
Dan Campbell
went for it on fourth down with 8 minutes left in the fourth, and we're up by 25 in the Bears. Like, go for it all the time, and then you're always going to be used to it. This is how. Yeah, anyway, that's not related to.
It happens every year, Sam. It happens in baseball. Every team, I'm sure your announcers say it. There'll be a game that's closer blows in May or something, and the announcers say, "Oh, well, remember that game in September if it's close," and nobody ever remembers that game in September.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's and that's kind of like, not for nothing, like if we would have had this podcast last year, we would be saying a lot of the same things. I would be in Lee's seat, Lee would be in Dan's seat, and I guess Dan would just be like, I don't know, what were the best team? What do you want me to say? Like,
yeah, slightly different because we kind of ran. I don't want to say we ran the division. That's not true, but the Guardians were good for most of last year. Is the
right.
point I'm trying to make.
And then you went from like what was weird, I think if you look at like the division chart from last year, you would have had the Twins skyrocket up, you would have had the Tigers middling, and you just had you had the Guardians between them until they passed the Twins, and the Twins collapsed and the Tigers passed them. Like, it would have been just an interesting little triage. But I don't know, the season is so fascinating to me, because if you would have asked us in April, May, June, July, and August, who's going to win the division? Tigers. Like, I don't.
You would ask me a week ago.
Yeah,
last week on
exactly.
It would have been like a no-brainer, and now like we're a week away from the last week of the season, and it's.
Dude, all these all these baseball YouTubers are gonna make so much fun of us. Ugh.
Nobody talks about our division anyway, except for us. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
True.
How much did they talk about the Tigers when they were the best team in the league? They didn't. They should be, but they didn't.
Make fun of us, even though they didn't talk about us when we were good.
And that's and here and the example I will go back to is when did the Rangers win the World Series? Like
23.
23.
Yeah.
23. I think they had a losing record in August, and I don't think they were great in September. But then they just caught fire in the playoffs and won the World Series. Like, and then they had a terrible
year. You could make the argument.
Right.
You could make the argument the Guardians are catching fire too early, if anything. Like,
that might be it too. Like,
that's a good point. How much longer can they maintain this? Right. I mean,
well, they're about to lose to Minnesota, so I don't know.
Yeah, 1 out of 3 games. Don't worry, Travis Adams is on the mound, and I'm pretty sure he just hit Bo Naylor. So,
great news! Atlanta is up 6-0 now. Jesus Christ.
Well, and I think one of the things about this, what's going on right now in this division, I think is very emblematic of the MLB as a whole this year, because no one in MLB is going to win 100 games this year. Like, probably not. The Brewers might have a chance to get there, but they still need to win 5 more games. There's only 7 games left. We're in a situation where the number 1 seed in the American League is going to have like 92 or 93 wins.
Yeah.
Right? The Blue Jays.
A week ago, the Tigers had the best record in the American League. A week ago. Yeah,
and now it's like the Blue Jays are going to beat the Royals. I think they're up like 8-5. So they'll have 90 wins with 6 games to go. And they're the number 1 team in the American League. So it's kind of, I think, at least in the AL, there's a lot of teams who are kind of hanging around. But there is not an elite team. There's a lot of parity in the MLB this season.
I think parity is because I think you can say, I guess I'll say for my fandom, the American League has consistently been the stronger league. And I think you can certainly make the argument this year and maybe last year, the National League just has better teams. Whether that's the Dodgers, starting an arms war with the Mets and everyone else has to get better. But the American League doesn't. The American League looks much more winnable because the Yankees certainly have flaws, and that's always the boogeyman everyone looks to. So now it's just a wide open league. And then you have the Mariners, who do not have exactly a long. Well, they have no history of success. I guess they've never won a World Series.
They've never been to a World Series.
The Tigers have not won a World Series since '84. Obviously, the Guardians have not won one since 45, 49,
48.
48. The Royals aren't like. Then you have the Astros, who have probably been the best team in the American League for the last decade, 15 years or so. And they haven't won a World Series. I guess they won 2 World Series in the last year. But yeah, it just seems so wide open, which is just fun, especially when you think the whole playoff format is a coin flip, and that's just fun. But
Yeah.
anyway, we've talked about this a lot. We're at 35 minutes. We have a couple more points, and then we do want to like talk about the Guardians and the Tigers going on. But the Royals are also in this division. I don't know if anyone knows this for the first 36 minutes of this podcast, but the Royals did something pretty impressive for a team that's bidding for the best team in the American League. So Sam, why don't you go ahead and take over?
Yeah, so obviously this podcast, who cares what I have to say today? But I wanted to talk a little bit about a game that the Royals had on Friday. They beat the Blue Jays 20-1 on Friday. That is the 4th most runs in a game by the Royals. It's the most runs in a game since 2004. When they scored a team record 26 runs in a game. They had 27 hits in a single game, which is the most hits in a game the Royals have ever had. Max Scherzer was the starter for the Blue Jays in this game. He gave up 5 runs before recording an out. He pitched 2/3 of an inning and gave up 7 runs. He almost threw a yes hitter. So that was interesting to do that against Pride of Missouri, true son, Max Scherzer.
I'm sorry, what is a yes hitter?
A yes hitter is when the starting pitcher doesn't record an out.
Oh,
Just hits.
It doesn't give a bunch of hits.
Right. So the starter gives up a bunch of hits and a bunch of runs and comes out of the game without recording an out. Have you ever heard of this term?
I have not. No, is this my version of a Maddox, where you completely crapped on that idea?
It's pretty much just an unofficial thing.
Yeah.
Just
It's like an internet meme type of thing. A yes hitter.
Or it's also
I
used
hadn't
for
heard that
relievers.
earlier.
Oh,
Okay, good. I'm not the only one that's insane. Good.
Yes,
No.
yes.
I feel like an only hitter would be more appropriate of a name.
No,
I get
but
the
it's
point
to
of yes hitter.
purposely contradict the no hitter and the yes hitter.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, anyway, point is that Scherzer, who was fighting for a spot in the Blue Jays postseason rotation, looks like he is not going to make it onto the postseason roster. So, a couple standout performances. 3 doubles by Carter Jensen. Vinny Pasquantino, 4 for 4 with 2 doubles. Michael Massey went 4 for 5 with a home run. Michael Lorenzen, 7.2 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 3 hits. So, a really good performance by the Royals. But it was not until they put in their backup catcher, Tyler Heineman, to pitch. And I wanted to show this to you guys because on this Baseball Savant Illustrator, every pitch that this dude threw counted as an ephus on Baseball Savant. So this dude was lobbing it up there at like 45, 55 miles an hour, and the Royals were just teeing off. And Jack Caglione hit a 3-run home run against this guy. It was like a 45-mile-an-hour pitch that was like at his eye level that Caglione just teed off and hit a home run on. So this was a tough day for Tyler Heineman. his
Sure it was.
he had actually pitched previous to this. He had come into a game to pitch as a position player earlier this year, and maybe gave up. I don't remember what it was, but he's pitched a couple times in his career. He had given up like 1 or 2 runs over a couple of innings of work, and his ERA after this game for this season went up to 32.4.
The thing that I got a kick of and out of when you showed this to us, Sam, I went and looked up the box score. He pitched poorly enough. They had to take him out and put in another position player.
They did. So they
That's
took
funny.
So IKF came in and finished it out.
they took him out. They put in Isaiah Kiner Falefa. I looked at the illustrator. I did put this in the slides. I looked at the illustrator for Baseball Savant. IKF's pitches actually registered as fastballs because
How badly do you have to pitch to be like, all right, we got to take the position player out and put in another position player?
I mean,
Well,
he blew out
Point
his
does the
arm.
manager be like, all right, let's.
And I think
You just don't have it. You just don't have it today, Tyler. Give me the ball.
yeah, that was
Like, no,
something
coach, I got it. I could go another. Let me get this guy out.
they talked about this on the broadcast, and I will admit I didn't watch this whole game. This was my birthday weekend, so I was doing stuff with my family, so I didn't get it
today, though, right? Happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday. 45 years old? Is that what it is?
No, yesterday was my 28th birthday. So I should just start telling people I'm 30. But anyway,
Basically, that's how that goes.
So anyway, but the Royals, I didn't watch this whole game, and one of the broadcasters on it was also on Apple TV. One of the broadcasters during this barrage of the Royals basically asked the question.
Oh no, he died.
Oh, no, okay. I was about to say, is that my internet? Oh, what a cliffhanger.
Oh, I want to know what the question was.
Okay, while we're waiting for Sam to get back on, position field or field position pitchers. How do we feel about it? Like,
I know Lee loves it.
I like position players pitching, but I will say what the Dodgers did a few months ago against the Padres. Remember they put a position player in like the 7th inning when like down by 7. It's like, all right, that's like I feel like if you're doing it in the 7th inning, that's like a little much. But like 8th inning, fine. But like don't like 7th inning is too early. But I love position players pitching because it's hilarious.
Part of me wants like, and I'm not trying to sound like an old because like. In general, if you're going to put in a position player to pitch, the game is already over. And I'm not going to tell you, like, you have 20,000 people who are paying for this game. You should finish the 9 innings. I'm not saying just to cut it at 7 innings. But I do feel like there is an opportunity now that you have Shohei Ohtani, like a 2-way position player. If you can get someone who's like a backup shortstop who can throw 85, you need to at least have a competitive position player who can also pitch for this exact situation. Like, I would like to see that. Like, I don't want to say you need to constitute like you need to throw 80 miles an hour every time, but like, you can't just make it a farce and make it an eephus pitch every position, like every pitch. But maybe I'm in the minority there.
You've been around a while. I want to make sure. I want to see if this tracks with you. I feel like 10, 15 years ago, when they would put a position player in to pitch, he would actually, he wouldn't throw 90, but he would go in there. He wouldn't lob it in there the way they're lobbing it in there now. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I think this is fairly recent that it's been, position players have pitched a lot more in the last 5 years than previous, I guess. And I think Sam was trying to.
I was trying to look up when if a position player has ever gotten a pitch and win.
But so the only reason I say that, and Sam is working out his internet issues, the only reason I say it because like it does seem like when you have a 26-man roster, and you have a Shohei Ohtani who can do both. There is a role for a player who might be a fringe on both ends, but can throw 93 and play a good shortstop. There might be a good 5-year role for him. And I think that would be better to me. That would be better for me than just someone who just throws in 68-mile-an-hour lob balls for the next
It's a
10.
really interesting idea because you've got guys with good arms on teams that, aren't pitchers.
Any
Nolan
shortstop.
Jones. Nolan Jones would be
Yes.
a fantastic position player pitcher. He's got a great
Sure.
arm. Like,
I refuse to believe that Javi Baez could not give him a week and he'll come out with like a splitter or something that no one can hit.
Right.
Like he'd be able to. There are guys who can, I believe.
Well, even nothing. Even if you just have Javi Baez, I bet he can throw 90. I bet, like,
Yeah.
if you just say, Javi, throw as hard as you can towards the catcher mitt. He has a
but
good
the
arm.
alternative of that is, oh no, Javi Baez got hurt throwing 90 in a game that was 9-0 in the 8th inning.
Yeah, that's
Like,
Sure. And maybe
okay.
maybe you
Guys-
don't throw that caliber because, like, yes, Baez does make, $20 million. But, like, I think of a guy, he used to be on the Twins. It was, Michael Hellman. And they tried doing this to him. He was a two-way pitcher in AAA. That I feel like that's a good 26-man role. That's a dual position. But
they should negotiate it in the next CBA. We'll give you a 27th guy, but he has to be this guy. Coming into this conversation, I was just kind of like, it is what it is. I understand that, managers need to find a way to get 162 games worth of innings out of these guys. They're going to do this in a 10-run game. But Eric, I think you're onto something, and I think it's really interesting.
I
would
hate
like
to
to
interrupt
see
this, but I have to share this with you guys because I was trying to look up when a position player has ever recorded a win for pitching. The last time was Luis Torrens in 2022. I guess he went in because he went into a tied game. It looks. I'm looking at the box score. It was the first game of a doubleheader, and he got the win because his team, the Mariners, got two runs in the bottom of the 10th. Would you like to take a wild gander as who the losing team was who lost to a position pitcher?
the Twins, because that seems like a very twin stat.
Detroit Tigers.
You are correct. So I looked that up and I'm like, God damn it, of course it is. This is in 2022, so that team sucked. But yeah, losing pitcher was Gregory Soto, and I am not surprised because he sucked.
Well,
But yeah, because
when
Benetti's thing
wanted-
every time we have a position.
Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, because just because of Benetti's thing, every time we have a position player pitching, when like down by 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever, he's always like, the next inning, Tiger will get on base. He's like, all right, the comeback begins now. Let's get Jake Rogers a win. It's always a thing, but I wanted to look up when this actually happened. It has happened a few times. It's mostly like extra inning games or like double headers.
So, Sam, I don't know how much you missed of this, but like we had a pretty good debate while you were working on your internet issues. Position player pitching. Should there be a standard for it or not? Like, should you at least expect a competitive... If you're going to bring in a position player to pitch, should they be competitive? Should there be like a mile an hour? Like how do you feel about position players pitching? Oh, don't tell me he's stat. Oh no, I feel so bad. He's trying so hard.
Tigers just lost, by the way, 6-2.
No, so did the Guards. So while we're getting Sam back
The
on,
magic number is 6 now.
While we're getting Sam back on, and he did say he was having a connection with his power before he got on, so this shouldn't be too surprising with his internet. Why don't we talk about the waste that was the Minnesota Twins versus the Cleveland Guardians? Now that the Twins have won one game out of 3, we may as well talk about the series because
there's about games, remember
there were 4 games and 3 of them were nothing. So we may as well just talk about those games. So on this slide, nothing really happened for the Twins. One sec, let me just show my screen here. So with the Twins, Dan, tell me, like, this is a team, and I said it in the notes earlier in the episode. This is a team that played a team that has nothing to play for, and it showed. The Twins had one good like at the start of the series, they had like up until the fifth inning, they were playing for something, and then once it was clear that the Twins couldn't play spoiler, they collapsed.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree with that assessment. And on the other side of things, the Guardians just trying to keep the good vibes going. Even with that, today's a perfect example. This is baseball. Teams are just going to not win games just because of variation, because of um, that's why you play 162 of them in the first place. But for the Guardians to win 3 of 4 here in totality, and to do it in a way where they've played a lot of close ball games in the last couple of weeks. They've had to use their high leverage relievers a lot, and they really got away with. I was concerned about that component of it, particularly with the Tiger series. They had to use a lot of those high leverage guys in the first 2 games. Um, and there was an element of, oh no, there's 4 games in 3 days. They're gonna really tax these guys coming into the final week, and that didn't have to happen because of the nature of how these games went. And to your point, Eric, of kind of how the Twins, for the most part, folded. Um, they didn't have to utilize. They used Cade Smith on Friday night, I think, and beyond that, smooth sailing. So uh, I agree with that. There's a lot of good stuff on the Guardians end. The starting pitching continues to roll, but I think you do may probably have to kind of account for the opponent in that too.
Yep. Is there an? I'm speaking as a Twins fan who wants literally anything to hope for. Was there anything you saw from a like the Guardians' point of view of like that could be a problem next year? Anything?
Austin Martin to me looks like a guy who isn't going to hit a good maybe leadoff man, top of the lineup type hitter, going to put the ball in play, very Guardians ish, if
Yep.
you will. Maybe that's why he speaks to me a little bit. But I like Austin Martin. I think I don't know if he'll be an all-star, Eric, but he's a guy that I think could be a productive Major League Baseball player for the Twins moving forward.
I think if he
Um,
was on a good, not to interrupt you, but like it just
oh, go ahead.
give Austin Martin his flowers. He was part of the Jose Barrios trade, and they also got Simeon Woods Richardson, who has looked pretty good this year. Like it for whatever, but Austin Martin was the main prospect in that trade. He has looked pretty bad as a major league player in the last year and a half, and it is nice to see for someone who doesn't hit for power. He's a contact first hustle player. I don't want to say he's not baseball. He doesn't have a high baseball IQ, but he gets a lot of errors on the base paths. He doesn't
Mhm.
look great defensively, but he is like a very gritty. He's a baseball player. He plays the game hard despite he might be a little bit over aggressive if I'm being generous. I can see him being a good fourth outfielder for a good playoff team. And I think that's his season. And I
Mhm.
think that's completely fair.
The only other guy I think I'd mention is it appeared to me in what I saw that Royce Lewis is hitting the ball a little bit better than he had for maybe the last
Sure.
season. I don't know that he's necessarily where you want him to be, but it's better than what he was doing in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, if you can get that guy going again, that'll make a difference. Heschel, I think I didn't see a lot this series, but just he's kind of garnered a bit of a reputation as somebody to watch out for. Um, there's a few guys there, but I will say I felt like I had more of those kind of notes with the White Sox a couple weeks ago than I do with the
I
Twins.
think that's fair. I think you guys talked the episode that I missed. I think the Twins need to prove they're not the worst team in the division next year. Because like right now, I think the
Yeah.
White Sox are on the rise. The Twins clearly aren't. So now I mean, even if the Twins and the White Sox are projected to be a 70-win team, and I think that's pretty fair for both of them next year, as the rosters are now. And I don't know what the poll ads are going to do with the payroll Right now it's projected to be 90 million. It was 120 million. If they use $30 million, that's a lot of flexibility they can use on better players. You can argue that maybe you can't believe the Polaz will use the money to reinvest in the team. They do have 2 more minority owners, but we'll see. But right now, the Twins right now are the worst team in this division. And I don't think it's close. Which is really sad to say, because I'm also the guy at the start of this year that said the Twins were a clear step above everyone in the division. And let's look at what they are now. This husk of a team. We'll see.
The basement of this division is wide open.
Yes,
I
you're not wrong. Like, and
do
that's
have
That's a funny way to put it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one more Twins point, and it's to the negative, unfortunately. But my biggest concern coming into this series was Twins starting pitching. Like, oh no, the Guardians aren't that good of an offense. Like Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez,
yep.
those guys could keep the Twins in these games, and that could be. I was not impressed. I know Lopez got hurt. Maybe that's a whole separate thing. But I mean, the Guardians' first 4 hits in game 1 of that double header yesterday were solo home runs.
Yep.
The Guardians, by the way.
And I think that is.
And
Go ahead.
and then
Finish your point.
Ober in game 2, he looked great through 4, and then Rocco just kind of let him rot out there in the 5th, and he hit a 6-run 5th inning. So,
And I think I said this before we started recording, and maybe I haven't said this while we're recording, but this team should get someone fired, but I don't think it will. And that's for better or for worse. Whether you want to blame the manager, the front office, the ownership, someone should lose their job or their ability to control the team. And I don't think this will be the team, but we have an entire offseason to talk about that.
and I'm assuming what you mean by that isn't 4 of the 5 MLB scouts.
Right. And
fire them.
we haven't even talked about that yet. The Twins let go 4 major league scouts in a cost-cutting measure.
Oh, I heard about that. What the hell is that?
Yeah,
about?
so here's the thing about that. A lot of major league teams have gotten rid of their major league scouting department. Like, full blast. But they didn't necessarily do it the Twins did it as a cost-cutting measure. So that, like, a lot of it's video-based. If you're looking at the majors, every major league team is on TV right now. You can measure it. You have StatCast, all of that. You don't necessarily need someone to go into Citizens Bank Ballpark to go scout the Phillies. You don't need to go to Comerica to scout the Tigers. So you don't need to send a scout. But the concerning part of that is cost cutting. Because let's be honest, they cut 4 jobs out of 5. Which, by the way, the one guy of that department right now is either exceptionally good at his job, or the Twins are really grinding for money right now.
He's
and they
the
didn't want to
newest
cut a
guy,
department
and
completely.
they're not paying him as much.
And let's be honest, the scouts aren't. I don't even think all of those scouts combined are making a minimum salaried MLB salary. So if the Twins are truly worried about cost cutting for not even an MLB salary, their payroll is going into $90 million next year. You're going to tell me Pablo Lopez, who makes $21 million next year, Joe Ryan, who's projected to make through arbitration around $10 to $12 million, are they going to be on the team? We'll see.
Hard to believe.
So there's that. I got on a tangent. I kind of forgot my point, but like, this team just seems to be in an albatross. And until they prove they are not the worst team in the division, you have to assume they're the worst team in the division. Because you have to assume they have a $90 million payroll. And they're not going to add $30 million to the payroll. If you add $30 million to this Twins team, they might be an average team. They were up until they traded Carlos Correa and the trade deadline. They were projected to be a 500 team. Beginning of the year, they were projected to be one of the favorites for the American League Central. Who knows what they are now? And now you're going to depend on next year if they're going to. Emmanuel Rodriguez has to pan out. I've said it on this show before. I have concerns about Emmanuel Rodriguez. He has a pretty good, not a great strikeout to walk ratio. He walks a lot, but he strikes out an awful lot for AAA. Walker Jenkins has been phenomenal. But you're adding those two guys to an outfield that you're putting a lot of pressure on two rookies to turn this franchise around. I just don't. And then you talk about the starting pitching, which I think was Dan's point. Zabby Matthews has not looked good. Joe Ryan is running out of gas, and I don't even think it's even debatable. I think his WAR at the start of the All-Star break was around 5. It's still around 5. He is running out of gas. Pablo Lopez has been injured, and he just got put back on the injured list. He's now just done for the season. Zabby Matthews hasn't looked good. Zabby Matthews, David Festa was on the injured list. Probably he's not going to start the rest of this year, but they thought thoracic outset. Now it's a pinched nerve. Mick Abel, who they paid for, who they traded for Joan Duran, has a 6 ERA and has the stuff, but like you're now looking at Zabby Matthews and maybe Mick Abel are bullpen guys. Their value goes down quite a bit. Even if they're great relievers, they're not starting pitchers. So where's this franchise going? I don't know. Maybe that was a really long rant, and I apologize for that because this team is dead, and the story is the Guardians and the Tigers. But what else?
The point I was trying to make with that there was, any hope you had, Eric, was with what your question was to me. Do you see anything any young guys, anything that impressed you? And yeah, there was a couple, but the thing that you're hanging on to is we need those young guys. We need to see those because those are the guys that are going to be motivated in a series against the Guardians in September. That doesn't matter. But your three or your 4 starting pitchers this weekend were the vets who, at this point, for lack of a better way of saying it, I don't want to say they don't care, but the motivation is
they're out of it.
They're established major league veterans. The outcome of these games doesn't matter as much to them at this point in time, and that's what you got this weekend. Yep. And like I said, I was a little concerned because those are good pitchers, but they're the 3 that lost to the Guardians this weekend.
We'll see. I mean,
and Eric, you asked where the franchise is going. I think, unfortunately, the answer is they're going to sleep for a while.
Yep.
They're gonna take a little rest. They're going to bed. They're gonna put the franchise on ice for a couple years, and you mentioned that they're expecting these 2 rookies to save the franchise. I don't think they are.
No.
I think they're expecting the team to be pretty non-competitive for the next handful of years. And then once the financial situation is sorted out, then they'll try to, be competitive again.
And I don't even
again. This is just my opinion from an outside perspective. It stinks right now, but the Twins rebuilding is better than the purgatory that they were in, where they were not good enough to be competitive, and they were not bad enough to really. You don't get picks in baseball the way you do other sports. But the point is, I think they were decisive. They made a decision to rebuild. I think that was better than where they were.
I guess, and I can agree with that as the state of the franchise is now, but this seems so self-inflicted. If you talk about since 2023, when their payroll was around $150 million, even if you just go on an average MLB salary growing, because the MLB salary grows every year. So if they were $160 million in 2023, they should be around $170 million now. And I can't understand, and I will never understand, how after you win a playoff series with it was one playoff series, and I'm embarrassed to talk about it as if we won the World Series that year. that they won an 0-18 streak, that they beat the Blue Jays in a wild card division, that this fan base was elated to win one wild card series 2 years ago. And then 2 weeks after that series, ownership to say, we got to right size the payroll. We just can't afford what this team is. And now the payroll that should probably be around 170 is now going to be around $90 million. And I know they can project to be 120, which is what they were. They were 143 this year, and they can project to be. But I have zero faith that this ownership group is going to invest in this team past what will give them a guaranteed profit. And until proven otherwise, I don't know how I can hope for others. If they put in another $30 million into this current roster, maybe they're a 500 team if things go right. But I don't know how I can hope for more than that at this point.
I think part of it is, and this is something that Nick Wright on First Things First says somewhat often, where he says that he says this about the NFL, but I think this is a good sports truism writ large, is that the NFL makes a lot more sense when you realize that not every team is trying to win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Not every team is organizing their team in such a way to win the World Series. Every team says they want to win the World Series. Every player says they want to win the World Series. But in reality, some teams are trying to win the World Series. Some teams are trying to, make the playoffs or, have a winning season or get some bad contracts off their books. And I think for the Twins, their goal 2 years ago was, hey, let's break this 18-game playoff losing streak. And they did that, and they said,
That's interesting.
Mission accomplished, guys. We did it. And now the franchise appears to be in shambles after a historic collapse last year,
Right.
and a selling off of the team this year.
I don't think you're wrong. And if that is the case, ownership who said this team is up for sale and went through that whole drama, I think you're more right than I am comfortable saying. But what a pathetic level of success you chose.
Mm-hmm.
One wild card win. You did it, guys. You spent $150 million on one playoff win and then trashed the franchise.
Like,
It's
imagine
a
if
terrible ROI on your $150 million, by the way.
Yeah,
like not to keep switching to that to keep talking about the NFL, but like imagine if the Lions won their one playoff game in the 2023 season and went, we did it, guys, we got a playoff win, first time in 32 years, and then didn't bother trying the next two seasons. Like, that's insane. But because it's baseball, for some reason we're like, yeah, sounds pretty normal.
Yeah.
But when you put it in that frame, it sounds insane.
No cap.
And we have the entire offseason to talk about the dumpster fire that is the Minnesota Twins. We have 2 weeks to talk about the dumpster fire that is the Detroit
Tigers. Yeah.
So why don't we
Maybe
talk
not.
about the series that they just had against the Guardians?
It's a dumpster fire. I don't know what you I don't know what else to. Dan, how about you take it away? Because everything I say
could
is
go
really
on
depressing.
and on and on about this. So I don't necessarily want to do that because there were key components to all these games I could really go over. Let me try to be a little bit more high level, I guess. Starting with game one here, extra innings. We get into the 10th. Well, let's not even get to the 10th. Let's get to the 9th, where I know, Lee, you talked about nothing went right the entirety of the series. The one counter example I can afford to bring up is the Tigers trailing in that game in the 9th, and Kerry Carpenter comes in to pinch hit. It's a 2-run shot to tie the game, sends it to extras.
And then the game just ended. It's really weird. We had a tie for the first time in baseball in like 50 years.
Very, very bizarre
That's
because
right.
that's not how I remember that ending. But I feel like Vogt tried to do everything he could to not get the Guardians into that position where Carpenter was going to come up in that scenario, and it happened. It was just inevitable. Um, really good matchup against Cade Smith, one of the league's best relief pitchers against Carpenter, who's like, one of the best, in my opinion, best power hitters in the league. And Carpenter got the best of him in that point in time. Cade's had a bit of a difficult relationship with the closer's role since he's taken it over from Clase. But that happens, and then I think I could make the argument that that 10th inning, right after that was the series potentially,
Yeah, pretty
where
much.
Guardians immediately come out against Will Vest, and if I'm not mistaken, had 4 straight extra base hits.
Something like that. I'm trying
No,
to
I
pull up.
take that back. I'm thinking of a different game. But what they had the immediate RBI double by Kwan to give him the lead. Angel Martinez comes up, tries to get a bunt down, move Kwan to third, get the second run of the inning to third with one, fails to get the bunt down, hits a triple instead with two strikes, and from there we're rolling. End up
Yeah,
winning the game.
we had that really cool moment where Kerry Carpenter tied the game, and it lasted 3 minutes because right
that was
away, Guardians took back the lead. It was
7-5
insane.
win. One stat out of this one: Guardians were 8 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Tigers were 1 for 7. And that's the game. I could keep going to game 2 unless you have anything you want to interject, Lee.
I'm trying to find a stat for Will Vest here. Where do
He has
I
not
find?
been good. I know he got beat up yesterday too.
I don't, dude. Everyone on this team sucks right now except for Skubal and Torkelson. Apparently, it's insane. Where do I find on Baseball Reference pitching splits per inning? Like,
Ooh, that should be in his splits page.
okay, splits.
Yeah, because that does 7th, 8th, or 9th. Yeah, go to it, his individual player page and go to the splits.
Okay, so click on splits, pitching roll.
While you're doing that, just interrupt me when you got it. I'll start on game 2. But game
Okay,
2.
no, I found it. I just found
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead.
By inning. These are his stats per inning. I will preface this with AJ Hinch is a good manager, and I still believe that. However, I don't know why he continues to put Will Vest in innings that are not the 9th inning. These are his stats this season by inning. 7 games in the 7th inning, 6.75 ERA. In the 8th inning, he has pitched 17 innings. He has a 4.76 ERA. In the 9th inning, he has pitched 38 innings. He has a 1.63 ERA. And in extra innings, where he has pitched in 6 different games, he has a 6.75 ERA. So it's 7th inning, he sucks. 8th inning, he sucks. 9th inning, he's the best reliever in baseball. Extra innings, he sucks. Why do we keep putting him in positions that are not the 9th inning? Like,
What are his other options?
That's the thing. Who are his other options? Kyle Finnegan only just came back. Like, maybe I can't be too upset when we keep doing this because who else are we going to put in? But also, why do we keep putting in Will Vest where we know he's going to fail?
And my memory might be failing me, but to your point, I believe they got Vest earlier this year when we were in Detroit in May. I'm pretty sure the exact same. I don't know if they scored 4 runs, but
I think
10th inning. I distinctly remember Manzardo hitting a double off of Vest, and that being the game basically.
Okay, let me look at the game logs so I know what game you're talking about. It was the 3rd game of that first series, right?
Yeah. It was probably that Saturday night, is my guess.
I went too far. No, he pitched in the 8th and 9th inning. Hannafy came in extras and lost that.
It was game. Hannafy. My bad. Okay.
So yeah, Vest went 1.1 innings, 0 hits, 0 walks, and got 4 outs. So yeah, Vest was good in that game. In the 1 out for the 8th inning, and then the 9th inning was Hannafy who came in. But yeah, I think for that game, I was like, why didn't we just keep Will Vest in? Because then Hannafy immediately blew it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm now on the don't put Will Vest in if it's not the 9th inning because he sucks apparently. But no, that game was infuriating. I mean, all of these games were. So maybe anyway. Yeah,
Game 2?
starting. Yeah, go to game 2. I was at this game.
You sure?
It was depressing.
So I'd love to hear your perspective, but I'll just start. I will say, early on, Gavin Williams has gotten a reputation this year for pitching a lot of deep counts, having a lot of long at bats against hitters. And I was a little nervous because that first inning, 12 pitch at bat by Riley Green, the Tigers didn't score, but it looked a little bit after the previous night. Cantillo only went 5 innings, 10 inning game. I'm like, this whole thing about bullpen has been in the back of my head all week. Are they going to have enough arms for this series and then the doubleheader, et cetera? And he ended up gutting out 6 innings. After that first inning, I'm pretty sure he was at 25 to 30 pitches. Beyond that, multiple rangy plays made by Quan in left field. He's a Gold Glover for a reason. Just wanted to shout that out. You can comment on all that you want on that in a minute. Additionally, on the flip side of things, I entirely understand, and it's a moot point now because he's hurt, but I entirely understand why AJ Hinch is putting Colt Keith at third base. He needs that bat in the lineup. To that point, I believe Colt Keith had an RBI in this game.
He did not have an RBI in this game because we did not score this game.
Oh, I'm thinking of one of the other games then. I apologize. In fact, I think it was the next day. But the ultimate point I'm trying to make here is at this point in time, if Colt Keith is going to play third base, he needs some more reps because he does not look like a very good third baseman in my eye test right now. Just there's that double by Manzardo down the left field line, blue pit. In my opinion, Keith gave up on that way too early. I think he could have got to that ball. And then there's just a couple other plays. There was a ball in foul territory the next night that he didn't catch. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying he needs reps. And I get why Hinch is playing him, but that's my Colt Keith tangent. Beyond that, this was still a 1-0 game in the sixth. And, there's a situation there where the Guardians missed out on an opportunity in that sixth inning. But later on, he at bat of the game. Angel Martinez comes in to pinch hit. He thinks he's going to face left-handed pitcher Brett Herter. Herter gets taken out. Tommy Canley comes in, and right-handed pitcher. Martinez has been significantly better hitting as a right-handed hitter this year than as a left-handed, and to the point that I was like, Vogt just got to burn on hell here. We can't use we gotta find somebody else to take this at bat, and he singles in Gabriel Arias, who is, I believe, on third with 2 outs. And huge hit, 2-0 game. All of a sudden, the difference between a 1-0 game and a 2-0 game is huge. And shows what I know. Vogt's a genius, apparently. But that was a big at bat for a guy who's been one of those guys that's really contributed over the last week or two. Martinez's stats have been fantastic. And I don't know where that's come from, but he's hit significantly better. From there, I love that Vogt left Gaddis out of this game. He did not throw him. He kept him in reserve just in case. Again, talking about the bullpen components of this. And Cade had a much better ninth inning. He went 1-2-3 with 2 Ks. Ended up winning the game 4-0. Bo Naylor against the AL Central continues to be unfathomable. I don't know what that's about. When I looked at it earlier this week, he had a 121 WRC plus in his career against the AL Central and a 69 against everybody else in his career. I'm assuming it's higher now because he had a 2-homer game against the Twins yesterday and a number of key at-bats and hits this week. But I don't know how to explain that. That just makes no sense. That against these 4 teams, he's so good, and against everybody else, he's been so poor. But
other than reps and scouting reports, which reps and blind lock.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe he's seen the pitchers more, and maybe once he sees other teams pitch, I'd like to not give up on Bo yet. Like that's part of my kind of thought process with that. But 4-0 win in game 2, and Lee, have at it, and anything that you saw from the field.
Yeah. So
From the
okay.
stands.
So the stands. Yeah, I was in the left field, outfield seats, which I've never sat in the outfield before. It was really fun because I normally sit along either the first or usually the first base side. But it was really fun. It was a pretty good view. I couldn't really from the angle because it's kind of like you see right down the foul line. You can't really see the batter's box or like where the strike zone is too well. The Tigers were swinging at everything outside of the zone. They would get into these 3-2 counts and then swing at a ball in the dirt. And the number of times that me and my dad go, "What are we doing? Why did you swing at that?" was ridiculous. Because at a certain point, it's like, dude, if the ball's in the dirt, what are you seeing? What are you swinging at? Like Riley Green, he put together some really good at bats, but then he swings at a ball in the dirt. It's like, what are we doing here? Flaherty was fine. I mean, it's whatever. He gave up technically 2 earned runs, but like that's more to. It's really the way his stat line is more of a knock on the Guardians' offense than it is a hit to him. That is a credit to him because he was all over the place. He was. I mean, he could throw strikes. You know, he's walking a bunch of guys. Guardians got a bunch of base hits. The game should have been way higher than it was because he wasn't great. I mean, 2 earned runs, yay, whatever. It doesn't matter. We only scored 0 runs. Stephen Kwan is a menace, and I wish he was on the Dodgers. The number of times that every time a fly ball is hit anywhere in the outfield, everyone stands up. So like I had to stand up. The number of times he caught these stupid lineouts that were like 900 extra base hit. It's like, why? Why is Nolan Jones even in center field? You clearly don't need him because Stephen Kwan can catch everything. Apparently,
That's why you can play. That's why you can play Nolan Jones center field. Honestly,
it was ridiculous. Like Tigers have scored so much if Kwan didn't catch any of those. Which like, yay, good for him. I don't care. I hate him. His first at bat. My dad jokingly goes boo, and then everyone else in the stand started booing. So, and so he got booed pretty much every at bat. Tigers offense has been struggling this past week. Let me pull up. I'm gonna pull up on the app, and I can tell you how many runs they have scored. They've lost 6 games in a row. How many runs the Tigers have scored the past 6 games? They scored 5 runs. They lost that one in extras.
Well, I can tell you they scored 6 runs in this series.
Yeah, they scored 6 runs in 3 games here. Then 0, then 1, then they score 1 run, they score 5 runs, and they score 2 runs. They can't hit. They can hit, but they can't score any of these runners left on base. I think today they had 10 left on base by the 6th inning. Like, that's insane. What are we doing here? And this isn't like this is a... Like, I made a joke at the beginning of the season, because the Tigers started off, 1-21 with runners in scoring position or whatever in those first 2 games, right? And I made a joke, this is what the offense is. Tigers threaten but fail to score. There's a reason the Noble Tiger is named after the Tigers. But, overall on the season, the Tigers have actually been really good with runners in scoring position. This is a new thing. This is not a season-wide thing that is just rearing its ugly head now. So this is a very abnormal to what this team is. And every team's fan base thinks that their team is terrible with runners in scoring position, but that's not been the case for the Tigers. 2 weeks ago, I saw a stat, they were 2nd in baseball. And that hasn't happened this year at all. Because they would get runners in scoring position, right? They get a leadoff double. I mean, my dad go, all right, so maybe just, working that back, try to get something. And they're 0-2 because they swung at the first 3 pitches that are nowhere near the zone. So it's, why? Also, for Mark and Colt Keith, I was really confused on what happened on that play because I couldn't tell, but the ball dropped. I thought that was foul because you can't really, you can't really tell.
It hit the line, it landed on the line. Yeah.
Oh man, because we were what the hell just happened? Could he had not? Okay, but if you say that, he should be able to reach that, then yeah. But
let me put it this way. I'm not saying it was a guaranteed routine out. He gave up on the play too early, in my opinion.
Okay.
Where an experienced third baseman runs to a spot, sees if he's in the vicinity of the ball, and then adjusts. And that's just my opinion.
Because it looked like he gave up on it, and they were like, "Oh, it's foul," but then it was in fair territory, so that makes sense. I mean, I do believe he is a good third baseman. There is a good third baseman inside of him, but you have to remember he's had to change positions twice this season. So, next year, you just gotta sit him down, give him one position, and then keep him there for the entirety of the season because he's had to change positions twice. So, he's made a bunch of really good plays at third, but he also does a lot of brain dead stuff like that.
Can we just take a minute to? I just shared it on the screen here a little bit while I was looking it up, but like Jose Ramirez has been phenomenal in the last like 30 days. So,
Yeah.
Dan, I'm going to assume you know more about these flowers, but just looking at the raw stats, his OPS in the last 15 days, 115 OPS plus the last 750, he is turning it on at the absolute best time. So, like, maybe just give him some flowers.
No, I mean, the best way I could do that, more than my flowers, if you've got a subscription to The Athletic, check out Zach Meisel. He wrote a fantastic article about Jose Ramirez and his personality, how funny that guy is, how he keeps things light. He's an interesting guy. And he's the kind of guy, there's a certain type of humor that I've kind of grown to enjoy over time, which is where he's very sarcastic, but he carries himself where you're not sure if he's being sarcastic or not at the time. But when he's being serious, you know it when it's time to get to business. So beyond his play on the field, I think his personality, his leadership matters. One thing I didn't get to say up front about the Guardians is I've talked a lot about chemistry. This run that they're on is all exponentially harder to do if the clubhouse doesn't have fantastic chemistry. And so he's the leader of that. Um, and the other players in the clubhouse acknowledge that. What is Guardians baseball? Go watch how Jose Ramirez plays. All those little mini things, Eric, you were talking about earlier that the Guardians do well: put the ball in play, take the extra base, field the ball well, play in the right spot at the right time. That's Jose Ramirez. Now, he also 30-30-30 season for the second year in a row.
It's not even 30,
There
it's
are
30-40. It's not even 30-30. It's 30-40.
the only players to ever have a 30 homer, 30 double, 40 stolen base season. There's two of them, multiple times. Alfonso Soriano, Jose Ramirez. End of list. There are only 5 players with 3 or more 30-30 seasons. Jose Ramirez is one of them. I don't have that entire list in front of me. I apologize. I know 2 of them have the last name Bonds. I forget who the other. I think Soriano is one. There's a fourth that I don't remember. But he he is all these things as a leader and doing all the little things, etc., while also just being fantastic in terms of production. And I know we haven't talked about Game 3 yet, but he essentially put Game 3 in the bag with his late home run. So maybe a good segue there.
Yeah.
Right
Oh,
point.
I almost forgot. Paris had a really good, nice play in left, no, right field that helped possibly save a run. Not that it really mattered. I think it was after the leadoff bloop double, right? It was a kind of a deep fly ball, like kind of mid deep, but he made a really good catch and throw that held the runner at second there.
Yes. Now that you mentioned that, I do remember Manzardo had to hold. Manzardo's not the most fleet of foot to begin with, but still, like that's execution there, where he was able to hold him out second.
Yeah, Perez's defense. I talked about it a little bit. I think
He's
he's not
good.
necessarily. He's been good. Like it's gone really up this year compared to last season. I really like Perez, especially because he's a. But like, it's not necessarily that he's like gotten faster or a stronger arm or whatever. It's just his mechanics are so clean that it doesn't matter if he has the best arm because he's going to nail the mechanics of it and get that throw down. So I just wanted to shout that out. Yeah.
Not to use that as not to use that as a way to talk up the Guardians more, but to that point, I feel similarly about the Guardians outfield at large. Nolan Jones has a great arm, so like I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. But Quan leads the league in outfield assists. That is not a guy with a cannon necessarily, but he's got clean mechanics. He gets rid of the ball quickly, and he knows how to play the left field wall in Cleveland. But it's mostly get the ball out quick. When Miles Straw was here, same deal. He did not have a strong arm, but he got the ball out quick. And I feel like that gets not measured or not paid attention to enough. Like the release, when you catch that ball off the wall or scoop it up off the ground, how quickly you get rid of it when you're trying to get a runner out. The Guardians, for a while, I think, have had a point of emphasis of strong arms in the outfield or guys that will stop other teams from taking the extra base because of how they play in the outfield. And so just wanted to highlight that. Because that's a good example with Wenzel.
Yeah.
Game 3, I will say the one thing here, it's interesting how fan perspectives are different. I agree that the results have not been good for the Tigers in terms of offense. This is another game where I felt like the game plan was really good. They got another long first inning. In this case, it was Tanner Bybee who threw a bunch of pitches. And again, I was nervous because of the situation with the bullpen. But again, Bybee, I believe, went 6 innings, gutted it out, matched Eric Skubal pitch for pitch, um, and ultimately was able to fight through that. But I do think, like, I'll say it, I wrote it down at one point. For a guy who strikes out as much as he does, Riley Green has really good at bats and throws off a lot of
Yeah.
pitches. Now he's probably in a lot of 2-strike counts in the first place, and that's why he's striking out a lot. But he does a really good job of battling.
Yeah, he's a really good player. It very much annoys me how much of the fan base has turned on Riley Green, especially this past week because he strikes out so much, and a lot of them have been in like big positions. That's bullshit.
Can I jump in on that point? Because I understand, like, the player I'm going to mention, everyone is going to have like a sour attitude of like, what the fuck are you talking about? But Miguel Sano, if anyone remembers when he was called up, he was really good. Like, his ceiling was really high. What Miguel Sano did really well when he was at his best, and the podcast that I always plug, Gleeman and the Geek, which I always plug, I'm very sorry for it. But the way they would describe it is Miguel Sano would take pitchers out to the deep end of the pool and then try to see if they can survive. He would get to 2-strike counts, but he does not have a contact mentality. He would get you out to, he wanted a 3-ball strike or a 3-ball count so that he could then get a hitter's pitch and then take you 500 feet deep. And that's what I kind of feel about Riley Green. Riley Green has a lot more contact than Miguel Sano ever had. But when Miguel Sano was doing well, he would get a lot of 3-0 counts, 3-2 counts. And then he didn't have the skill set he had a lot of swing and miss. And I feel like Riley Green is more set up for more success than Miguel Sano. But it's a very similar skill set. And I hope that I meant that as like encouragement more than discouragement.
Yeah, Riley Green is a very good player, and he's only just about to turn 25. Like, these things are fixable. Maybe you can change his swing a little bit because he has a very uppercut swing, and like it makes it very hard to hit stuff like at the top of the zone. But like that's not something I can change right now. This is something that you work on in the off season. Well, but like if he makes a little bit more contact, it strikes out a little bit less, MVP type player right there. Like, I mean, he's that good.
Riley Green also has the advantage of not being 6'4", 270.
Okay. Sano had his own like. Sano, I'm not going to tell you what, but like if you look at Miguel Sano for like an 80, like in his rookie season, he looked like a franchise caliber player.
He did. He had some flashes for sure.
Yes.
But my point is, guys that big don't usually last long.
And that's complete. He's like the first guy I remember like. And this is certainly not because, like, Miguel Sano, I will not call him a bust, but he certainly did not reach the heights of his prospectum. But, like, if you look at Barry Bonds and Miguel Sano, of them just holding, like, a tiny little club that could hit the ball, like, 9,000 feet, I feel like they're very similar. Like, you see Miguel Sano with a baseball bat, yeah, he can hit this ball 9,000 feet. It's just he didn't have enough contact to back it up. But so, like, don't take that out of context and think I'm comparing Miguel Sano and Barry Bonds, because that's not what I'm saying at all.
The greater point I was making there is Green did it multiple times, and there was just a lot of. I agree, Tigers probably were swinging and missing a lot of stuff out of the zone, but they were also doing a lot of that's a tough pitch, foul it off. That's a tough pitch, foul it off. And so what could have been 13 pitch innings were turning into 17 pitch innings. And ultimately the results weren't what the Tigers wanted them to be. But I do think some of the process there was good, and it just didn't work out. Speaking of big right-handed power hitters, though, the Guardians got one off of Tarek Skubal in this ball game, and that was courtesy of
21 innings or something, right?
Happy holidays and Merry Big Christmas in September from John Kenzie Noel, who hit a really good pitch. Speaking of hitting really good pitches, 0-2 count, ball was down and away, and he got the barrel to it and planted it in the left field seats. And so, if we could get that guy going, man, would that make a world of difference? Really good swing out of him. He swung it a little bit better here in September, but the overall numbers still aren't very good. But got one there, and then later on, Jose Ramirez with a 2-run shot, and that was the difference in the ball game. I believe this was the game where Keith had the RBI. Actually, I had that mistake, and that was the 1 run. But 2-run homer by Ramirez put him over the top. And then I talked a lot about the bullpen. This was the perfect example where Vogt had to go to some guys in this game that he normally wouldn't go to in this type of high leverage game, high leverage situation. Tim Herron threw for a third day in a row in this game in the 7th inning. And for a second, it didn't look like it was going to go very good. I think his first 5 pitches in that 7th inning were balls. But you got a double play out of Dylan Dingler, known guy that swings up pitches out of the zone. Hit, I think, a 2-hop shot at Arias, turned it into a double play, and that was the inning. That was the threat ended. And then Colby Allard pitched the 8th inning of this game. Colby Allard hadn't pitched in 10 days because they'd been not using him, because he's not usually a higher leverage guy. But he got both Carpenter and Green in that 8th inning, lefty on lefty. And it just felt like one of those moments where I was just sitting there going, oh, man, I hope this works. I get why Vogt did it, but I hope it works. And lo and behold, it did. So those are my items on game 3. And Jose Ramirez is inevitable at this point in time. And so,
Like I said,
I hope he can be inevitable
homer.
for another week. Yeah, you did say that.
I mean, if you gotta,
Like you.
if you could bet on a series, bet on Jose Ramirez hitting a home run in a series against the Tigers. Like every time he's gonna get one. I think he's done it every time this season so far.
He has a season's worth of stats against Detroit now. In fact, it's probably like 164 games, and it's like 35 home runs, 125 RBI, hitting 310. Like, I'm probably slightly. It's something like that.
I'm so sick of him.
Can I ask like 2? These are going to be like 2 very like pro hobby or like Jose Ramirez questions, but like I want to include the Royals in this as well. If you could choose the career that Jose Ramirez has had versus the potential of Bobby Witt Jr., who do you want to pick?
But I think I see where you're going with this, Eric. I think there's a little bit of a flaw in your question, which is that I don't think Bobby Witt Jr. is just a really good major leaguer. Like, sure. Bobby Witt Jr. isn't a player with a lot of potential. He just is.
Oh, I disagree with that a lot.
I think he's a fully formed.
I think Bobby Witt Jr.
player,
and maybe I'm kind of surprised by this, but Bobby Witt Jr. to me is the best player in this division, and it's not close.
Oh, I agree.
Whoa, no.
Okay, go
not
ahead.
Close,
and go ahead.
I think not close is a bridge too far. If you want to argue he's the best player in the division, fine.
Okay, well, let's start with this. What is not close? Let's just go with WAR. WAR has its own like discrepancies. WAR is not a perfect stat. Why is Jose Ramirez? I'm going to assume you're saying Jose Ramirez is that player. Why is Bobby Witt clearly not the best player in the division by far?
Well, Bobby Witt plays shortstop. That gives you a lot more WAR.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's a reason for that. Because a shortstop is much more valuable than a third baseman.
Look, Tarek Skubal has the same amount of WAR as Bobby Witt Jr.
Correct,
He
but that's
plays
starting pitcher.
20%
starting
of the
pitchers
games.
are complete. Like if you want to include pitching is a completely different category from position players.
Don't try and backtrack what you said. No,
I'm not trying to backtrack anything, but if you're trying to tell me
stand by
position
what you
players
said.
versus starting pitching, that's completely different.
Your first argument was best player in the division by far, and because he has more WAR. And now I'm telling you, Scooble has the same amount of WAR as Bobby Witt, and now you're trying to change your argument.
I don't think I am, because I feel like starting pitching, like pitching and position players are two very different areas.
Hey, I'm not trying to argue that Tarek Skubal is a better overall player than Bobby Witt. I'm just telling you that your argument is flawed.
And that's fair. And that's kind of what I'm trying to bring up. And that was the whole point of, and Dan took exception to it, and that's completely fine. That is why I kind of wanted to ask the question of, I feel Bobby Witt at his ceiling and Jose Ramirez at his ceiling. Bobby Witt is a better player. However, Jose Ramirez has the Hall of Fame career that Bobby Witt wishes he is going to have. At this moment, which player, and this exact moment, you know what Jose Ramirez is, you feel like what Bobby Witt is right now versus what he could be. Who do you want on
I'm
your
going to take
team?
Jose Ramirez 10 out of 10 times.
I think part of this is the age question. If you're talking about right now, who would you take? Obviously, Bobby is a lot younger than Jose Ramirez. But I think I agree with you, Eric, that Bobby Witt Jr. is the best player in the division. I think the thing that I disagree with slightly is he's like, if we had this conversation 2 years ago, I would say, yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is a guy with potential. Now, Bobby Witt Jr. is just the best player. He is in my opinion, third best player in MLB. He's taken a little step back from what he did last year, but still, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to put up a he's currently sitting at a 6.5 WAR season. Again, that's dependent on a lot of things. Right. I think Bobby Witt Jr. If you were to say to someone, you're starting an MLB franchise today, pick a player to start your franchise with.
And I guess that's probably maybe that's kind of the spirit that I'm doing. And I mean this all in fun. I'm not trying to disparage Jose Ramirez or Bobby Witt.
My issue was with the phrase "by far." I think that's completely wrong. The stats of the two, when you compare them offensively, are close. I think the reason why, as Lee pointed out, that Bobby Witt Jr. earns more WAR is because, admittedly, he is a slightly better defensive player at a premium position in shortstop. I understand why that's valuable. But additionally, we talk a lot about things that can't be measured. And Ramirez is all those things that I talked about as a clubhouse leader. And again, I think that kind of stuff matters to the point that I'll let Bobby Witt Jr. say it himself, quote, about Jose Ramirez. He plays the game the right way. He plays hard. I love the guy. So is that a ringing endorsement that he's a better player than me? No, I get that. But to say by far, to me, I can't live with that.
And that's fair. And maybe I overextended by saying by far. To me, the ceiling of Bobby Witt is much higher than Jose Ramirez. But Jose Ramirez has been consistently the best player over the last decade. And dare I say, by far, in the American League Central.
I think the by far piece, is a legitimate argument when we bring in the age factor.
So I guess the hypothetical question of if you had to pick which player to take at the start of their careers, you know how Jose Ramirez's career is going to turn out. You don't know how Bobby Witt Jr.'s career is going to turn out. Which one would you bet on if you had that hypothetical?
I think if I am a contending team, I would rather have Jose Ramirez than Bobby Witt. Maybe that's nuts. Maybe that's homerism. But if I'm a team that's looking for one more guy, be over the top, and those are my two choices, I would pick Jose. Now, if I was a team that's got some runway and needs to get better and has multiple years to do it, then yeah, I'd pick Bobby. I get that.
I think the again the thing I disagree with is the idea that, oh, we don't know what Bobby Witt Jr.'s career is going to look like. Yes, we do. He's
I
going
think
to
that's fair.
be he is going to be one of the top 5 players in MLB for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think you could make the argument that's like a floor, right? Like that's your point. Is like we know at minimum he's going to be like he can still progress, and but he's established himself enough that this is at least what he is. That makes sense.
See, that's interesting to me because, like, if you're telling me who has the best floor, I would argue Jose Ramirez throughout his career has the best floor.
He's
Who
just
has
been so
the
consistent.
highest ceiling is Bobby Witt, and dare I say, by
I think
far.
I think their floors are pretty.
I mean,
comparable.
don't get me wrong. This is still like an exceptionally high floor. Like this is still like these are franchise caliber players, and like I don't want to mince words. Jose Ramirez is a Hall of Fame player, and I don't even want to mince words with that. I just think it was interesting.
I think I think your point is more. This isn't to disparage Ramirez. It's more you just think highly of Witt, and
Both,
that's fair.
yes,
But I have issue with by far. That's all.
and that's fair. And like I can see it if I was going to pick, I'm always a high ceiling guy, and that's why like to me like if you want to give me 2014 Byron Buxton versus what like I will take Buxton for a lot because he has a lot of elite skills. Now, will Bobby Wood have a better career than Byron Buxton and Jose Ramirez? I think that's a reasonable point. That wasn't like that wasn't the reason I asked the question. It was just like Jose Ramirez is already in the Hall of Fame to me. Where do we think Bobby Witt is going to be? Was kind of like the whole point of my question. And like how high do we think Bobby Witt's ceiling is going to be?
Let me ask you this question, Eric. As of right now, what is the percent chance that Bobby Witt Jr. makes the Hall of Fame?
Ooh, God, that's a good question.
Because if you're saying that Jose Ramirez is going to be a Hall of Famer, which by the way, I do agree. I think at this point in his career he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Is Bobby Witt Jr. not going to be a Hall of Famer?
God, that's a
Because
good question.
because
'Cause, like,
I think there's a better than, I mean, 75% chance that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a Hall of Famer.
unless you can name a player who has fallen off, like it would be a real hard fall off for him
It
not to make
would.
it.
It would.
I mean, is this like like if you would ask the same question to Daryl Strawberry? Like
Mike Trout.
that's really what we're
People
asking. Or
thought
like,
people thought Mike Trout was going to be the best player in history of the sport. The second half of his career hasn't been of that. Now he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
right.
The point I'm trying to make more so is that like the back half of the career could not match up, and but ultimately I think it's more likely than not. I'll give it a 51% chance. How about
If I think injury would be,
is
and
the
that's
factor?
again with
Or
Daryl
like
Strawberry, injury would probably be the only thing that would
I was gonna
prevent.
say it would be injury or like Fernando Valenzuela. If you would have asked someone after year 3 of Fernando Valenzuela, like, yeah, first ballot Hall of Famer, he's going to make it, and then you just kind of fell off. Injuries were a part of that. Other factors were a part of that. But yeah, and like, I really hope people who are listening onto this, and like, I will go back and clip this, and hopefully this goes viral. But like, I mean this in the best sense of Jose Ramirez versus Bobby Witt. Of these are both exceptional players, and I feel like Bobby Witt has such a higher ceiling due respect to Jose Ramirez. Because Jose Ramirez seems to me like the player who has excelled at every skill set he has. He has done the best at all the skill set he has. And Bobby Witt just has another caliber of speed, power. Well, maybe not power, but like the athleticism seems to be higher with Bobby Witt
Yes.
Jose Ramirez.
The-
And
I would
maybe
say
that's me.
the raw talent is
Thank you.
probably
Fair.
is probably there for Bobby Witt Jr. I think the other thing is, this is a bit cliche, and this isn't the case anymore. But for many years, people were constantly talking about how Jose Ramirez, most underrated player in baseball.
Yeah, by the way, can we give up on that? He's not the most underrated player anymore.
That was true maybe 5-6 years ago. That's not true anymore, obviously. But that's something that people talk about.
People spend
Bobby
more
Witt
time
Jr.
talking about how Jose Ramirez is underrated than they do talking about Jose Ramirez.
Right.
Yeah.
If they just use that time to talk about him, then anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Is Bobby Witt Jr. underrated by anybody?
No.
No.
I think he is.
The conversation about these two players is very different because I think
Thank you.
Bobby Witt Jr. is coming up at a different time than Jose Ramirez did, and that's not to make it sound like Jose Ramirez came up during the Dark Ages, but I think now in the world that we live in, when did Ramirez make his debut?
2013.
14 or 13.
13. I have his stats up right now because I want to look something up. It's 13.
In Bobby came up in 2022. The world of 2022 and the use of social media and the idea of a player in a small market can be one of the biggest faces in the MLB was not a thing in 2013. In 2013, people still had cable, people still watched Sports Center, and I don't think they were showing a lot of Cleveland Indians highlights at that time.
The thing I'll add to that, and maybe this is just going to sound delusional on my end, but I just don't think that's what Ramirez wants in the first place. I don't think he wants to necessarily be the face of the league. I think he wants to be well respected in his clubhouse, and I think he wants to play really hard and be the best player he possibly can be. But just his relationship with the media isn't that. It isn't to be a star out. Something that I feel like I hope we get some sort of retrospective on someday down the line is the relationship between Ramirez and Lindor someday. I'm just very fascinated to know what that was about. They shared the half of the infield and Lindor is very much, I don't want to say a look at me guy because I don't necessarily think that's fair to him, but like he is media friendly is the way I'd put it. And Ramirez can speak English, like I said, is very funny, but
he's more subdued.
He's more subdued. He'd rather keep it's he has his people in his organization that he trusts, and it's kind of insulated, I feel like. And I think that's part of the decision making on why he decided he wanted to stay here. He loved it here, loved the organization, and felt like this was home and he belonged here, and didn't want to necessarily have that, outward reaching as much. So,
I mean,
to that point, I think.
And let's be fair, Jose Ramirez is going to have a statue outside of former Jacobs Progressive. He's going to have a statue. And
1,000% yes.
And to me, Bobby Witt is going to have a statue outside of whatever the new stadium is outside of Coffin. Like, the chance of that is going to be very when it's on the Kansas side of the state line. There's going to be a Bobby Witt statue right there. And I really wish, like, I'm gonna try to clip this whole thing, and I hope people have the attention span to listen to it. But like, they're both franchise saving caliber players, and it's such a high bar. And I just think that's a fun comparison of, we know what Jose Ramirez is, but I feel like the ceiling of Bobby Witt is just a little bit higher. But also, Jose Ramirez is really fucking good.
Yeah. Well, and I think with Bobby Witt Jr., he is someone who is happy being in the spotlight. I think he is a very, very much doesn't shy away from that. I think he is American. He is an all-American.
Without saying the quiet part out loud,
He is an
That says a lot.
all-American guy in a sport that is continually being a higher percentage of international players. And he is in Kansas City. And that is a city that is in the spotlight right now for numerous reasons. The Chiefs are one of them. Taylor Swift is another. And so he's got a large network of people that he is associated with due to the fact that he is in a Kansas City athlete.
Sure. Can I ask?
To be fair on that part, to refute that point for a second, LeBron was here when Jose was first coming up as well. Granted, he wasn't quite the caliber he is now, so it's not a one-to-one comparison. I take it back.
It isn't, but I don't think LeBron was doing local commercials with Jose Ramirez.
Also true.
Like
No.
Mahomes and Bobby Witt Jr. are in multiple local commercials in
I learned
Kansas
something.
City.
Well, also, and to be fair,
Okay.
LeBron was supposed to be the next Kobe or LeBron, or like next Kobe or Michael Jordan.
We're not having this debate on this show. We are not having this debate on this show.
But anyway, so yeah, well, that's a fair point. I don't know. I just think it's a fun debate. So like, I'm gonna put everyone on the floor right now. You have one answer: Bobby Witt, future; Jose Ramirez, career. Dan, go first.
Ramirez.
Sam.
My Clevelandness will not allow me to answer any other way. Ramirez.
Sam.
That's fine. I think as much as I think that Ramirez is going to be one of the best players, if not the best player in the history of the Cleveland.
Can I just add
franchise.
Can I just add to, like, this is not disparaging anyone. I Sam, I understand what you're saying is like, you're not trying to take a crap on Jose Ramirez. These are both phenomenal fucking players.
I'm not trying to crap on Witt either, but I would pick genuinely. I would pick Ramirez.
Okay.
Anyway. I would take Bobby Witt Jr. over George Brett.
Wow. All right.
There's my answer.
That's awesome.
There's my answer.
Because that's like a franchise. That's a good answer.
The guy.
Yeah.
Sam. Or no, Lee.
See, I didn't even react to being called Sam because I'm called Sam by my parents all the time. I would take Jose Ramirez. My sister's Sam. So,
okay.
Yeah. I was sorry. I've drank it. Anyway, I would take Jose Ramirez. Maybe my answer is being influenced by the fact that I've watched him murder my team for how many years now. But like he's just been so consistent. And like that's not saying that Bobby Witt is I think he's gonna fall off. I'm just saying, I mean, how long has Jose Ramirez been doing this for? And he's always been
your point is you're taking the sure thing.
Yeah, I'm taking the sure thing.
Yeah.
I'm taking Bobby Witt. I really love, and I'm not trying to sound like to go 2-2, but like Bobby Witt has such extreme talent, speed, athleticism, whatever. He does so many things well. Jose Ramirez is the constant. Like I want the ceiling, and even though the ceiling is like right here. Anyway.
Now let's have a debate about who we would take: Bobby Witt Sr. or Jose Ramirez.
Well, that's funny.
Jose Ramirez.
All right. So anyway,
I will say Bobby Witt Sr. did not have a bad MLB career. He was a pitcher for 16 years in MLB, and that's nothing to shake a stick at.
Don't take this in. My recollection of him was being an ace for a bad team. Like that's my. I could be wrong on that.
He had a couple pretty good years. The elder Bobby Witt, but he was for the most part like he's got a lot of negative WAR seasons
Okay.
on this baseball reference
That may
page.
be failing me then.
So he was just kind of a guy who was there.
Yeah.
But he was there, and that's more than any of us can say. So
Sure.
I looked up Jose Ramirez's. You can find stats by opponents. Now, I want just to appreciate how much he has murdered the Tigers. If you see, I sorted this by OPS. The top 5 teams are National League, the Angels for some reason, National League, and then the Tigers. He has a career 967 OPS against us. That's insane.
That makes sense.
It's I'm like, that matches. If he, so it's 165 games now. If he played every game against Detroit, he would routinely have 35 home runs, about the same amount of walks and strikeouts. I mean, that's nuts. Just and especially even compared to you could do by year too, which is fun. Apparently, we really held them down in 2023. I don't know what that was about. Look at this. Last year in 13 games, he had a 1.16 OPS against the Tigers. God damn, that's insane. I think even if you look to the rest of the division, like Royals, White Sox, and then the Twins are all the way down there. I mean,
But even then, that's not that's 807. That's still far above. Like,
We don't have the LeBron Jordan debate on this podcast. We have the Bobby versus Jose debate, people.
yeah,
and I
It's
think
a fun
that's
debate
a
to
really
have.
fun debate. Like, I don't know.
It's a great debate.
who's going to be the better mid-market player?
That's right.
Fun debate.
Anyway, we've talked ad nauseum, and I'm not gonna say so. Like, I don't want to say the other matchups do not matter, but we do need to move on.
Yes.
There is one matchup that matters in this next week, and I'm pretty sure I got Lee and Dan to debate to promise a live stream on this Wednesday.
hey, I didn't promise anything. I didn't commit. I said
I
I'd
heard
be
a
available.
guarantee. That is
I
a
have a
Lee,
biostats exam the next day.
a
Okay,
Lee
maybe I need to
guarantee
study.
on Wednesday night that we're gonna live stream the Wednesday night stream.
There we go.
One sec.
Barring an act of God, I will be here on Wednesday to stream.
Lee, C's get degrees.
You're right. I mean, it is biostats. I know most of the stats stuff already because I have a minor in statistics. I just need to get together. I just need the credit.
So there is one series that matters, and I'm real excited for it because my team is dead in the water. There is the Detroit Tigers at the House of Horrors that are the Cleveland Guardians. And on Tuesday night, September 23rd, Tara Skubal versus Gavin Williams. And I can help think the Tigers, my whole point, the Tigers have been the best team in this division the entire year.
They suck right now.
They suck right
hope.
now. And the Guardians are the best team in the division in the last month.
We kind of. I don't want to take too much time talking about this. I don't know who to blame. Is it, how much of an overreaction is it, especially if we miss the playoffs? Do I want Scott Harris fired? I don't know because
You don't.
I'm still so furious about the trade. No, after the trade deadline, he says we have a 9-game lead in the division and blah 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 blah. What happened to that, Scott?
All this
Look
is true.
where we are.
Dan, who is the best pitcher? Who is the ace of the Guardians right now?
They don't really have one. They've got 3 guys that I would consider a 2-starter. But to answer your question, to not avoid the question, a lot of people want Gavin Williams to be the ace of this team. He has the stuff to do it.
Well, here it is. So the best shot that the Cleveland Guardians have right now is against Tara Skubal. If you were to bet $100 on this game, who's going to win this game? I mean this to everyone. Dan, answer the question.
Detroit.
Lee.
Guardians. You're not going up against Tarek Skubal. You're going up against our god shit awful bullshit.
We talking money line. We talking
Yep,
spread here.
Who's winning the fucking game, Sam?
Just the money line. Just the money line. I'd have to go with the Detroit Tigers.
Because Skubal is the best pitcher in the world outside of Paul Skeens. I think the Tigers are undoubtedly the favorite in this first game. The next game, I think this is a complete opposite. Dan, who wins this game? Jack Flaherty, Tanner Bybee?
First of all, I'd take Scooble over Gaines, but that's a whole other thing we don't need to get into right now.
Agreed.
Bybee. Cleveland.
Sam.
I think, well, what do I think? I think this game, I think Bybee has been the guy for the last couple of starts, so I'm going to give this one to the Guardians.
He has been significantly better down the stretch. He's had a rough year, a lot of home runs given up. He's been a lot better.
I will say just before we get to Lee, who is burying her face inside the keyboard right now.
I thought she left.
She's
No.
thinking about it.
I'm still here. I'm just sad. I know. I don't want to witness this massacre.
I think Bybee to me is much more inconsistent than Flaherty, and I'm saying that off of nothing other than my own.
Flaherty has been the definition of inconsistent. I don't know what you're talking about.
But I feel like the Bybee has been the same thing. Like they're both very inconsistent pitchers. And to me, Flaherty at least has the experience. So I'm going to lean towards the Tigers because I feel like they have the better offense. So I'm going to go...
We don't... Our offense is awful. We can't do anything.
In the last 10 games. Throughout the year, though, I feel much better about Detroit's offense than Cleveland's offense.
We may never win another game.
That's my coin flip.
I'm not
So
convinced
anyway,
we're not going to lose it. Guardians. Guardians. I'm not taking the Tigers for anything. We're going to get swept again, and then we're going to go to Boston and then get swept. I don't
we're going to beat...
So, Lee, you got to help us out here. Who do they like? Parker Messick.
We're going to beat up on to be announced. Just you wait. It's going to happen.
So I guess this is...
Hey, to be announced as our second best pitcher last season. You put some respect on that name.
Do they have any inkling who's going to play this game, though?
Probably Montero. By the way, we DFA'd Charlie Morton today because he sucks. Because he's 41, and why did we get trade for him?
Okay, well then, Dan, Parker Messick. Why do we believe in Parker Messick versus TBA?
Probably Keter Montero. Probably.
Parker Messick was called up in, I believe, August. He's been stellar since coming up. He's had one bad outing, and he's pitched deep into ball games, into the 6th, into the 7th. Plus changeup, plus 60 rate changeup. He's got a hot hand. I think he can get it done.
I'm going to buck the trend. I'm going with TBA in this game.
At some point, the Tigers are going to wake up to me.
Yeah. There's I remember a famous interaction between Ryan Lefevre and Rex Hudler a couple years ago where I can't remember what team it was, but they were previewing the next series and the starting pitcher was TBA for whatever team. And Ryan Lefevre goes, every team's got a guy named TBA. And Rex Hudler goes, yeah, and depending on the day, he can be good. Or maybe not so good.
Hey, TBD was our second best pitcher all of last season. So he was awesome for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Montero. That would be my guess because he started yesterday for the Braves against the Braves, so he'll probably be ready by Thursday. And yeah, so he's kind of been our spot starter because we're out of starting pitchers. So I'm not taking the Tigers for any of these games. I don't believe in them at all. 0%.
That's the whole beauty of this whole thing. So the only reason I'm showing these are the Guardians offense versus the Tigers offense. You have Skubal, who I feel is the clear favorite in game 1, and then you have coin flips for the next 2. Detroit.
Skubal can't pitch 9 innings. He's not going to be able to go 9 innings.
Let me jump in just one thing. You asked about Messick. we have to lower the innings threshold here. But the starting pitcher with the best ERA in this series, outside of TBA, because no, TBA would be infinite. Parker Messick,
That's fair. And that's
208.
the whole beauty of this next week is I can say the best offense is, the best pitching staff is. It doesn't matter. It comes down to 3 games to me this entire week. The Tigers are up 1 game. If the Guardians sweep, Lee, I hate to break it to you,
It's over.
it's done.
The Tigers are not making the playoffs if we get
The Tigers can win 1 game, and this division is theirs. To me,
tied if they won 1 game. And by the way, at that point in time, the Guardians would hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, the Guardians would have the whole. I think Tigers need to sweep in order to have the tiebreaker. I think that's how it goes. Also, interesting to note, the visiting team is 9-1 between these two teams.
Very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, the only one is the Scooble Maddox.
Shut up by Scooble.
That's yeah.
Well, that matters because in the schedule, the Tigers are going to Cleveland and then Boston.
God, I can't wait to have our playoff crushed.
After that,
crushed by Boston. I hate Boston.
The Royals, the Angels, and the A's. Which, I mean, it doesn't matter. Good for the Let's hope the Royals have a winning season.
Yeah,
have a pretty good chance to get it.
They lost to the A's, or to the Blue Jays rather. They're 78-78, 6 games against 2 teams who are out of it, playing for nothing. Royals aren't playing for anything either, except to have a winning record. So let's go 4-2 in these last 6 games, and let's have a 82-80 season here.
Yep. Go for it. The Twins playing for, I mean, they're not beating the Phillies, they're not beating the Angels, or they're not beating the Rangers, so whatever. They're going to have a 90-loss season. It doesn't really matter what they do the rest of the year. The White Sox, who we really haven't talked a lot about, they've played a lot better in the second half of the season, and I'm sorry for anyone who was listening to the White Sox in the last, or listening for the White Sox in the last since the All-Star break. We have let you down. However, they're playing at the Yankees and then at the Nationals. They're, 15, 20 games better than they were last year?
I forget, what's their record right now?
Right now they're 58-90.
All right, that's pretty good.
They still have a chance to avoid 100 losses, but that would require them to win 2 out of 3 against the Yankees and then sweep the Nationals. So unlikely, but still a big step in the right direction for the White Sox.
I'm just going to be miserable for the next week. I don't believe in this team at all.
By the way, this is the AL Central rundown, so that's what's going to get the focus, is the Detroit-Cleveland thing. There are other ways for both of these teams to make the playoffs.
There are.
I'm wearing a Seattle hat because I want Seattle to beat Houston tonight, and I would keep the Guardians in the final wild card spot. Like, as much as we are properly and correctly building this up, but both teams could make the playoffs. Both teams could play each other in the playoffs.
Yeah.
God damn it. No, I don't want that to happen again. I can't. If there are 2 teams that I do not want, the 3 teams. 3 teams that are in a potential playoff position that I do not want to lose to in the playoffs. That's kind of how I rank who I don't want to face. It's like, all right, how much would I hate myself if we lost to this team? Right? The 3 teams, I don't want to lose to the Astros. I don't want to lose to the Red Sox because I have trauma related to that. And I don't want to lose to the Guardians. I don't want to play the Guardians again in the playoffs because I know we're gonna lose for any playoff series we make at this rate because they're playing like trash. But I don't want to play the Guardians again. It's no.
All right.
Yep.
Let's go to predictions. And I think we can all understand these predictions is basically who's going to win the division. Because there's one series that matters. The Detroit Tigers are up 1 game after being up, I don't know, 5 games the entire year.
Look, last week I said the Tigers just have to not get swept, and they have not won a single game since then. So,
And they got swept. So
and then they got swept.
here we are.
Oh.
It reminds me.
Lee.
Wait, before fix that sweep. That must have been a smart guy that said Cleveland was going to sweep last week.
Who went in and edited this after the fact? That's cheating. You can't do that.
I did say we were going to run Scooble out. He was going to give up more runs than innings he got through. By that part didn't come to fruition. But
He still got really. Apparently, I didn't. I was watching via game day because I had class at 2:30. I couldn't watch this whole game, and also I didn't want to because I didn't want to get more depressed. But like he was getting like there were some really bad calls against Google here. I don't know if it went both ways because I wasn't paying attention to that, but like there were some there.
I hear procrastinating right now. Lee, who's winning this series against Cleveland and Detroit?
Detroit's gonna get swept.
Wow. So
We're not.
by the way, what are the prediction standings at the moment? Because this also has potentially implications.
Well, I mean, it does matter because Lee right now is winning with 26.
Oh, look at that! I am.
Oh,
Dan is at 25. So like, there's more than just bragging.
There's more than just our baseball teams. We have our prides on the line here.
So Dan, you're down 1.
If I want to win this, I have to pick Detroit.
If you want to win this, you would have to pick Detroit, and then in the playoffs,
tied.
Cleveland and Detroit would have to meet.
Which, to be fair, we haven't talked about the rules for the playoffs if either team faces each other. But until then, Sam, you have your moment.
I think much like the Missouri Tigers, who were victorious yesterday, I think the Detroit Tigers are going to be victorious in this series.
Daniel.
The seal has been broken. The Guardians lost today against Minnesota in a winnable ball game. However, I think they're going to lose the first game of this series, and then they're going to win the next 2, get right back on track, and be in the virtual lead for the American League Central going into the final weekend.
I hate it here.
I mean, honestly, I can't break the fact that Detroit has been the best team in the division for 85% of this entire season.
No, they were lucky. They're bad. They're not a good team.
You can't be lucky through 150 games. I refuse.
Yeah, you can. We just saw it.
I'm going Detroit. And keep in mind, I feel like my vote is the kiss of death. So, like, take that with you will. So I'm going with Detroit. But honestly, regardless of what happens, I'm here for it. I love every second of this. This is what MLB playoffs, MLB leading September. This is what it's for. I love it.
I'm gonna have that nervous feeling I was talking about much earlier in this podcast. I'm gonna have that all week, and I'm gonna butcher the line from the first Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, but the anticipation is killing me. I hope it never ends.
Yep. I wish I was as nervous as Lee right now. I wish I had that. I know Lee is seeing the sense of doom, but like this sense of doom can also be if the Tigers win 2 out of 3, it's very hard for Cleveland to come back from a 2-game deficit. So like, man, this is what baseball is for, and I love it. I'm all for it. Let's do this again. Let's do this every year.
I saw it. I've been avoiding the internet because, I'm trying to. I can't help myself because my brain is broken. But I saw one tweet that was like, "Good news, we play Cleveland and Boston, who is our direct competition. Bad news, we play Cleveland and Boston."
Okay.
Because why? I don't want to lose the division to Cleveland of all teams because I hate them. I don't want to be knocked out of the playoffs by Boston because I hate them. It's awful. This is the worst. We and my friends were in a Discord call for most of the afternoon, evening yesterday, and we were kind of watching the Tigers game. And at the end, we just decided, you know what? Baseball is a dumb sport for stupid people. Why are we watching this? Yeah, we've
That
decided that
Lee, that's some loser talk right there. All right, that's we need positive affirmations.
Okay. We're going to log off in less than a minute. And I need a one-word prediction on who's going to win this division. Dan.
Cleveland.
Sam.
Detroit.
Lee.
Cleveland.
Detroit's winning this thing. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next week.